Hello, friends. How are you? I just had to hop on. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah. I was just so reminded of some important things as I was rehearsing for a gig. We're just doing an open mic, doing a few songs. Kira's playing guitar, and I'm gonna sing. And we're collaborating with a good friend. We've made a fast friend with one of our neighbors, and it's pretty incredible. Our new neighborhood's pretty musical, and it's super fun. So it's incredible, and I've been rehearsing and I've loved it, and I started bawling, just weeping, just not being able to. And I don't not ugly cry. I don't know how to not just look like a big snotty mess. So it was a moment, and it was luckily just in front of my mom-in-law Val, who was absolutely sweet. And I was extremely reminded by how important it is that we are responsible for what we consume. And you might be thinking, with my usual sort of role in our chiropractic clinic, that might include what we eat and drink, although those things are very important as well. I'm talking about music. I'm talking about vibration. I'm talking about anything that we consume, whether it's binging on Netflix or not binging on Netflix, just watching something. And how do you feel afterwards? How do you feel during? Of course, you know, what are your thoughts like? What's coming up for you? Right? It might be an interesting experiment to consider. I've been really considering what I watch and what I listen to for a long time. Both Kira and I had decided that basically we're not going to watch the news because we know it's all owned by the same company at the very top of whatever mountain, and if you look at the headlines and the tone and everything, not only is it super depressing and it's almost never positive, and when it's positive it's freaking boring. They're all saying exactly the same thing. Like how does that work? Like how does that happen? I don't get it. Like exactly the same wording sometimes, a lot of times, and the same timing and the same tone and the same everything. And it's more like it's hard to describe. Let's just put it this way. I never feel good after I watch the news. Doesn't matter which news outlet it is. I go and find my information. I get to know the people I'm listening to. I check the references that they give. If it's somebody talking about something that would require a reference, I find the reference as much as possible to take a look at, who I can trust, and then I go in that direction because that feels a lot better to me. What I'm talking about right now, though, is rehearsing for a gig, and I bawled my face off because I was listening to the words of Creep by Radiohead. I freaking love that song. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it again, though, because I was listening to this words, and I had this horror. I'm going to cry now. I had a horrible 3 weeks. We got signed up. It was really difficult to get a reservation. It's a great pub in the neighborhood, but it's super popular. There's a lot of musicians in the area, and you really kind of need to know, somebody who knows somebody to get in for a reservation. And I just was like, okay, let's do the song that we have been wanting to do. And I started eating crap, which is not that usual. It's not that unusual, but it's not that usual for me. But I started eating crap, but I also was buying a bag of chips, which is not something I do. And then I hit it, which made me feel horrible. That is old news. That is old energy. That is why am I even doing that? That's old eating disorder bullshit from my past, from unmet childhood needs and trauma and the need to be perfect, and which there's just all these different ways that I was feeling suddenly. I don't know how you feel fat, but I was feeling fat, so awful, and I didn't want to do anything, and I wanted to sit on the couch, and then I wanted to force myself to exercise, and then I just wanted to cry, and then I wanted to curl up in a ball, and I was feeling depressed, and I'm I don't want to do this gig. I don't even want to do it. And I was a freaking mess. And then we also had family coming for Easter, we had a couple of overnight guests, and mom and daddy-o for one night, and then the rest of the family the next night. And I just about lost my mind in preparing for that, because it was just all these impulses that didn't seem, they were energy from the past. And I'm like, why is all this stuff waking up right now? I thought it was the family visit, so I kind of discounted it. And when I was, it was a couple of days ago, Val was sitting on the couch, and she was just absolutely sweet. She was like so into it. She was like conducting, she was like crying. It was like really sweet. I was trying not to look at her because it was very distracting and beautiful, but very distracting. And I realized, like, I started listening to the words and how I was feeling at the same time. I belted it so hard, I almost hurt my back. Thank God I know a good chiropractor, because I was like going for it, and it was like heart-wrenching. It was like this is the thing that beautiful performances are made of. It's like you become this character, you become the song, you become that pain. And like, this is, we can go off in a bunch of different directions. This is what Jim Carrey talks about, is like, we are this character that we live in this life. We are spiritual beings experiencing, I can't remember exactly what he said. I'm not a human experiencing God. I am God experiencing this human in this life. So that's off in a different direction. But that's like, I felt like I had that moment where I like lost myself, except that maybe it was just my past self. So when you listen to the words, I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo, say no more, I don't belong here, pounding on those childhood wounds, like just pounding on being bullied and hit. And it was a very unpredictable childhood. I felt like I had to be perfect to be loved, like not just a little bit perfect, but like really fucking perfect. And eating disorders occurred as a coping mechanism. And then as I was going through the song, I couldn't even speak. I just like standing there sobbing. And I don't I don't mess around. Like I said, I just like lost it. And Kira kept playing, and she's like, you just keep feeling your feelings, like, because bottling those up are gonna, at the best of times, bottling our emotions up is a recipe for disaster, but that was gonna be a freaking stick of dynamite. And so I kept feeling the feelings, and I kept listening to the words, and I kept not singing them because I couldn't. And it was like, I don't care if it hurts. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. I want control. That's not the right order of the lyrics. I hope I don't do that tonight. But you know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is like striking every chord in my heart. And that's why I bring it back to, and also our one of my coaches, Aaron Dowdy, was speaking about it earlier in the week. And that I give him credit for me really actually paying attention, because like for 3 weeks I was really messed up, and I didn't want to, perform, and I also didn't want to let everybody down. And I was like, oh my God, I'm such a freak. Why am I such a freak? And I was having even a hard time concentrating at work, and like I missed booking somebody, and I was like calling up. I'm like, hey, luckily he knows me pretty well, so it wasn't a big deal. But it's like, what is going on? And what I used to say to myself, and that's another thing we need to start listening to, in my opinion. I invite you, I'm not telling you what to do, but a great experiment would be to listen to your own thoughts, because like normally, and I had a couple moments like this recently, I said, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, get your shit together, girl. Like, just come on. Like, and that's not nice. And a lot of the things that I have said to myself, I would never say to anyone else. And certainly not expect to be, excommunicated. I would never. I'm a defender of people who are verbally abused. So it was rough. And so I ate a lot of crap. I got my fill of chocolate, and I think I'm all right now. I got my good freaking cry out, and you know, performed in front of my family, getting the yips out, as they say, or as I say, I don't know, somebody said that in a movie. Speaking of consuming things, it was a football movie. Anyway, I just encourage you to think about what you're consuming, and on that note, to escape the thoughts in my head and escape the way I talked to myself and escape the need to restrict food and the need to kind of beat myself up, and to escape the idea that was unsafe and unseen and hideous. That's a fun word. That brings up all kinds of stuff. I used to jokingly say to Kira, you know, don't look at me, I'm hideous. I meant it. Like, I meant it. So on that note, like, I abused alcohol. I shouldn't say that, because alcohol really abused me. It's an addictive substance, and I became addicted to an addictive substance that works really well for escaping. So alcohol use disorder, eating disorders, all the ways that we deal with stuff. And I really do think it's so key to know that we have some tools to kind of unwind some of this stuff, and they come in some pretty plain wrapped boxes, and it's not easy. It takes a lot of freaking courage, and it's maybe not a short road. Mine hasn't been. It's a freaking journey, and I don't regret any of it. I love every minute of it. I love, you know, it sounds a little bit masochistic, but the pain has been beautiful as well, because it's taught me so much. And those moments, those aha moments where I can say that, I guess they're almost markers that I can kind of tell how far I've come when I can look back and say, holy, that was a lot to go through. And then I get to speak to myself like I would speak to someone else, and I would like someone to speak to me, and I would like to have someone speak to me in the way that's like, wow, you had a lot of courage. You've gone through a lot. Look at you. You really rose to the challenge, and you looked for meaning where there didn't seem to be any good meaning. And there was, it was painful at times, but you know, joy, as I've said before, is not circumstantial like happiness is. We're not meant to be happy. I don't think certainly we can't be happy all the time, but we can have a sense of peace and a sense of joy at all times. It's a skill. It's a practice. We aren't born this way. I think, well, I don't know. I don't know if we're born this way. I don't know. I think we're pretty messed up because of the world we live in right now. Do you agree? Like, seriously, like, talk about gaslighting and unpredictability and holy fuck, like. But coming back around, I work out to binaural beats and solfeggio scales because I like to be meditative. And my good friend Aaron, he doesn't know we're friends yet, but he was saying, he was suggesting that, and I think it's pretty cool. It feels very confirming, because when we put those good vibrations in, those heart-centered vibrations in, we can be present. And then when we look at how we feel while we're watching something, whether we're scared out of our minds because it's a horror show, or scared out of our minds because it's the horror show that is the news, or whether we're freaking out about how other people's lives are better than ours, and that they get to go on a vacation, and then it brings up all this crazy jealousy and shit, like, that we just don't even understand. You might not even notice at the time, but think about it, like, in 3 days from now, when you like pull the car over and hop out and grab a pop and chips when you haven't in months, or whatever it is that your thing is that maybe you hadn't been doing, or maybe the thoughts in your head just have you not sleeping well, or you know, being short with someone else, like when you like lose it with anyone, when it's like it feels at it, like I think we know ourselves pretty well, and I think we've been taught to not trust ourselves and trust our instincts. Like I think when we know we're a little off, there's there's a reason for it, and we can kind of, we can trust ourselves. We can look at what we've been doing and who we've been listening to, what we've been seeing, how we've been spending our time. Like, it's really good to get exercise, but not when you're beating yourself up to do it, because you're rebounding from some crazy stuff that you're seeing from outside of you. And we are products of our environment. If we allow ourselves to be, of course we are in so many ways, and we are so surrounded by so much influence that we, like, it's a lot of it's subconscious. Marketing companies do an amazing job of making us feel insecure and not enough and not good enough, not tall enough, not skinny enough, not fun enough. And my God, if we looked at any of the, if people who drank a lot looked like anybody in the commercials that they advertise for, like that's just not how it goes. It's just not how it goes. Like, even young Sheldon, I know I'm going on a bit of a rant right now, but I think it's really important. Even young Sheldon, Kira and I were looking for something that wasn't too, triggering, violent, political, something that was kind of light and not too dramatic and not too, like, heart-wrenching and, like, all that. Like, it's sort of a process of elimination. We ended up watching Young Sheldon. The grandma, Mimo, right, drank alcohol constantly. The woman almost never acted inebriated. She almost never completely lost her mind the way some people, well, I mean, it's a gradual thing when you lose your memory and you lose your ability to think straight and you start having brain fog and things like that. But, like, her complexion was perfect and her body was, like, super tight, and it doesn't work like that when you drink beer constantly. It does not work like that. Like, they're showing it's like constant, and maybe it's innocent. Or is it? Maybe it's intentional. I'm guessing that alcohol companies might be in cahoots with Hollywood. What do you think? I don't know. Anyway, me and my hypotheses. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to go kick some butt on stage, and I'm going to sing the crap out of that song. And if I cry, so be it. Maybe it'll be at the end of the songs that I'm singing. It's only 3 songs. Maybe I can convince Kira to do it at the end so I can lose my mind and get mascara all over myself if I need to. I think getting it out and sharing helps. So I think I'll be all right, as long as I don't forget the words, because I'm, like, thinking about it too much. But I'll just try and be present, and I'll do it for you. Maybe we'll share that song with you guys. Okay, have a wonderful day. Ciao for now.
Actually, no, this is